Welcome guys, this is Void of Dust Gaming, and today I'm bringing you Thane, a beginner's guide. This guide will contain mostly of three different things. First, we're going to talk about his abilities. The second one will be a little bit about equipment and arcana, and the third point should be positioning and rotation, like how to play him effectively. And what you will see is a really nice video where I can actually score a 409 and I'm going to be the MVP. And I don't die, which is quite special because I'm the one who's always in the middle of the fights, and that is your role. So we're talking about his role during the third point, positioning and how to roam and how to use him. So let's go into abilities first. I'm going to talk about them because you will see them later onwards in the video, and then you can pay attention to that. I've got them on my laptop so I can give you the exact name, but I'm calling them passive 1, 2 and the ultimate. One is your shield dash. That's the one that I have just picked up right now. That will always be the first thing that I would do. So let's talk about your passive ability. It's called Royal Power, and it's what makes Thane really good because he has sustain with it, which means that you can sustain just means that you can stay longer on the lane, and that's quite important if you are going to be a support, as we are doing in this video. And we are going to talk about what is a support and what is a tank later on in the video as well. So the first, the ability is the passive ability Royal Power, and Royal Power basically just means if your HP falls below a certain amount, which is 30%, you are going to be regenerated. As you can see in the video right now, there have been these small numbers in green, which means you are regenerating health. And the second effect is that you will also have a 25% damage reduction, which makes you more tanky. So the first effect is that you are going to heal up, which is great. 24% of your maximum health, says Samurai Gamers. And the second thing is that you also get some damage reduction, which means you can try to escape, you can try to stay on the lane, you can just use that, go into the brush and use it to the fullest effect, but it just makes you stay longer. And that's the first thing. The second thing is the Valiant Charge. You're going to charge forward in a certain direction. I will tell you when I use it, and you will knock up enemies. Look at that. That was it. That was the Valiant Charge, and we are able to get a nice Violet here. Thank you, Violet, for dying to us, because that gives us the possibility to roam a bit more. Okay, let's make this quick. You're dealing damage, you are pushing or shoving enemies away in a certain direction, so you have to be really careful how to use it. And you are knocking them up and interrupting them again, which is really great, but you have to be careful when you use this ability. It is really crucial that you position yourself right and that you push them not into their tower, but away from their tower, so that your ADC carry can actually get them. So what you can do is basically run around the enemy team or run around the laners and try to shove them down into the lane and into the game, because that just means that your AD carry can try to finish them off. Okay, next ability, your 2, is Avalons Fury. Avalons Fury is that he jumps into the air, hits with his, I think it's sword, into the ground, knocks enemy up and deals damage. And you have to be careful about that. And this is going to be a situation where you see how you can really zone with Thane. I'm going to do that right now. No, I didn't do that. That was stupid from my perspective because I didn't hit that right. But you will see how long I can stay in fights, I suppose. Yeah, that's a kill. Avalons Fury, you are slowing the movement of the enemy with the 2, and the important thing is that there is a short delay. So if you activate it and you want to have instant damage, it's not the right thing. The thing will be that Thane jumps into the air, and this is causing, I think there is a 80 millisecond before you stun the enemy. So you have to keep that in mind if you use that ability. So what can happen is basically you use your 1 to shove enemies into a certain position, and then when you hit your 2 right afterwards, enemies with flicker can flicker out of that if they have a really good control and they know how to deal with stuff like that. So This brief pause can cause you to not land your 2. So you got to be careful about that. And let's see right now. Yeah, there we go. That was my ultimate. The ultimate is called King's Glory. That was the right, as you could see in the video, that was the right thing. She wasn't able to dash away and I was able to get out. Here comes my passive healing me up again, which is just a great tool to sustain. But let's talk about the third ability. The third ability is your ultimate. Thane charges for a short time. You see him like gathering energy in his sword, and then he unleashes that enemy into the area in a great area of effect. You can see the template. The important thing is that it charges up, which means if you charge it up, an enemy sees it and he has a teleport or a roll or something to escape, he can just evade to the side. So best use of the ability is if enemies are grouped up. Let's say in team fights or something like that. If you go in, you can use it to deal massive amounts of damage, as well as just getting everyone low so that your team has it easier to finish them off. But you have to be careful because it is charging up. Thane gains a 20% damage reduction and he cannot be interrupted. So enemies can still try to kill you, but the important thing is, look at that. I was hooked by her. And that was the perfect example. And there we go, dead. That was the perfect example. I was using my 2, but she was using her her dash ability after I've used my 1. That's Caffeine. She has some kind of control effect well, she just gets rid of CC control effects. And that makes her quite good. So I was pushing her, she was using it, I was using my 2, and she was escaping because I couldn't hit her anymore. So you got to be careful about that. Thane cannot be interrupted during his ult. That's really important, because what you can actually do, and that could be some kind of combo if you want to know about combos, you will charge in, use your 2 to slow them, and then immediately unleash your ultimate. Because if you have enemies without any control effects, that just causes, and I'm going to do that. No, I'm not going to do that right now because I'm just too low. They try to kill me here, but I'm going to do that in the video later on. So this is basically your try to shove them into something, try to get them into walls or something like that. And that's important as well. You can't pass through walls with your 1. Some abilities just let you pass through walls. This one doesn't. You got to be careful about that. You can't escape through walls if you need to escape. You can't chase through walls if you need to chase. And you got to be careful with Tulans. They always teleport out of the way. So this was the basics. That's his abilities. I would always try to rather 2-1 or 1-2 and then use ult. You can also use ult and then try to shove them, but the problem is if you use your ult first, they will position themselves later on, so you don't have this ability to shove them into position. So I think positioning with your 1 is always a good thing, and then afterwards you can try to clean up with your 2 and your 3. At least that would be my advice, but there might be situations where you don't want to do that. And it kind of depends on in what situation you are and how the enemy is stacked and the positioning of them. So let's talk about Arcana and let's talk about his equipment. So equipment wise, I would always, and this is going to be a massive team fight. Look at that. This is going to be brutal. He teleported out. I killed him with my ult, just in case, because you don't want the Tulan to kind of escape your team. That's not something that you want to have to happen. So yeah, we're down with that. 306. There are coming some kills, so you will see some kills as well. So I'm building Thane quite tanky. I don't think that he is supposed to be like a super warrior, because I just have the feeling that his damage doesn't scale that well, but I haven't played him as a warrior before, so I think you should go for the tank, especially if you're a beginner and especially if you want to maximize his support role. So I'm going with Gaia Standard as the magic item that is going to protect you, because it has magic, because it has HP generation, which I just feel is really beneficial on him, because you are going to be regenerating with your passive anyways. Boots for me are either Gilded Greaves if there is CC on the enemy team, Sonic Boots if you are going to end up in many fights, as you will, or you can do the Hermes Selected as you are going to run around the field from bot lane to middle lane to top lane all the time, so a little speed boost is always welcome. The rest could be the support item. I would take the one that makes you faster, I forgot the name. I would always go with the Aegis because that really does some favors. Shield of the Lost is quite nice because it just makes enemies attack not that fast. That's always a good item to have. And Hyoga's Edge movement speed reduction is also quite nice because it makes it easier to follow up if your team is going to engage. From the Arcana, you could do either some sort of, and there comes a nice ult. I hit 3 enemies or 4 enemies, which is really welcome. And now I'm going to, perfect example of shoving it into their mouths. That was I caught them. That was a really nice situation. So if you want to see how you should use abilities in a team fight, just rewind and watch this scene again. I think it's a pretty good example of how to use Thane in team fights. Arcana wise, I would either go with HP Arcana, such as Benevolence, Indomitable and stuff like that, or you could do Onslaught, Skewer and the damage ones because you are not dealing that much damage, so that helps you to farm. You will realize if you are ending up solo on a lane, Thane is really bad at farm. Look how less damage I do. I mean, I know it's not my role, but it's always a good thing to have a little bit more damage. Or you can go hybrid. I think this build that I'm running is Onslaught, Benevolence, and I'm using Skewer. But feel free to experiment around with that. He's so bulky, he has so much health, and he's so tanky just from his passive that you can actually go with full damage and you will feel alright. But always, everything that gives you health regeneration is a really nice welcome thing because it makes you stay in lane longer. And as you are going to roam around, bam, bam. That was just important. I wanted to have that Violet dead because Violet can really cause havoc in your team. So yeah, this was about that. And now we should talk about the positioning. And you have seen some examples of how to use Thane and how to position him. So what you always should keep in mind, you are the tank, so it is basically your role to protect your damage dealers and especially your AD carry, as you will start off with your AD carry in lane. So what's really important for you is you should always be the person or the hero who is standing between your AD carry and the enemy's AD carry or the enemy's tank. And the best two worlds would combine those two. You should always try to put enemies with your abilities into position where they either can't deal damage to your AD carry, or even better, your AD carry can deal damage to them. That's really important with that. And the video is already over, which means we're going to pause in the screen later on. So this is always a really important thing if you want to position yourself. You are always the one that goes in first because you have a really good initiation tool. You should try to not go into the enemy team using the front, but from the sides if that's possible. So not the sides through the brushes because your team needs you as a tank. You are the sponge that soaks up the damage, but you should try to focus on coming from the side lanes just to have better angles when you are trying to push the enemies with your abilities. That's what I wanted to say here. So let's pause this video and we're just going to talk about it with that screen here. So this is going to be beneficial for you. Try to slow the enemies and try to deal damage whenever possible, or try to finish enemies off with your 3. That's like your ultimate. That's always a good thing to do. And otherwise, you just have to be a little bit more aware if you are playing the tank support, because you should always figure out where is going to be a team fight. And what you should also do, you're not the one who deals damage to the objectives. So you should always try to zone, which means take the Abyssal Dragon's pit. You have this pit where you have the rocks like a circle around the Abyssal Dragon. What you should try to do is try to figure out if there are enemies that are trying to steal the Abyssal Dragon. You're not going to see that in this video because it was so short, and we had an Abyssal Dragon which was pretty much uncontested, so there wasn't any enemy. You can check the map as well. But what you should try to do is check the brushes, check around the Abyssal Dragon, and let your team finish the Abyssal Dragon while you are trying to protect it. And Thane has a really nice psychological effect because enemies will know what you're capable of after they have been pushed around several times. So they will try to run away from you or try to position themselves that you can't really use your abilities to the fullest extent. And that is going to help you because that's actually what makes them do things that you can kind of use in your favor. So that's what makes Thane really, really good. That's my beginner's guide. Like, I don't have anything to tell you afterwards. I would just advise you to rewatch the video after you hear me talking about all these things, but that's basically what I can tell you about Thane. And if you like the video, don't forget to subscribe because I will do more beginner videos in my series of beginner videos, and leave a like and you will get more videos on a daily basis. This is like your Void of Just Gaming is like your channel for Arena Valor content, and if you want to stick to that, just hit the subscribe button and that would be really nice of you. So thank you guys for watching this video, and I wish you a pleasant weekend. Bye bye.